What's up, guys? Here with another video, and in this video I'll be talking about the Denver Nuggets versus the OKC Thunder. Finally we have a matchup, right? And I thought that there'll be another matchup, the Rockets versus whoever wins that series, Rocket and the Warrior, they're going to play against the Minnesota Timberwolves. But I did not expect that series to go to Game 7. I realized that the Warriors too old, so this is why they're about to get eliminated, right? So I know that I can very well predict who's going to win the NBA championship this year, right? You just have to get a young team. If a team's too old, then you have no chance of winning championship, period, right? All the team that has all the old guys, they all get eliminated, or they didn't even make the playoff, right? So the Suns are already a perfect example, they have all the old guys that beat up and injured, right? So the Suns are totally out of the play. They didn't even make the play-in. So just a quick recap there. So before I get to Denver versus Thunder, I talk about the previous series, right? So I tell you, that was one heck of a series. And Clippers, per usual, they always choke the game, right? Unlike Denver gave them multiple opportunity, to eliminate themselves, right? Denver did the dumbest thing, they fired a head coach, right? And I thought Clippers and Denver are formidable, but they're both teams are garbage when it comes to playoff, right? They're only good in the regular season, and I knew that they're not going to get deep in the playoff, right? Two teams are biggest frauds, right? And this is why it went to Game 7, right? Now, if Denver was clearly better, they didn't fire a head coach, then clearly this series probably would have ended a lot sooner, right? So, congratulations to the Clipper, or whatever that is, making it Game 7. Make the series a little exciting, but then, when it comes to second round, I think Denver's going to get exposed, right? The Nuggets are going to get exposed for sure, right? So, well, that's the always truth for the Clipper, The Clippers, some Clipper fans are delusional, right? They think every year is their year and they will never win a championship no matter what, right? Even if the Lakers didn't win a championship or not going to win a championship anytime soon, right? So, just, based on the series, I thought the Clippers going to make it all the way, but then, I knew they're going to choke, right? When it comes to the most clutchest time, right? Game 7 is the very important game, and James Harden didn't show up. Kawhi didn't, do a thing, and they kept the game close, and then the last three quarters, they just disappeared, like usual, right? So and Denver just got their win, right? This is exactly what happened, 2020. Now it's happening again. I feel 2025 is just like 2020, just based on what happened at Nuggets versus the Clipper series, right? And then I already talked about the Thunders versus Grizzly. There's just no competition there, no competition, and it's just easy cakewalk for the Thunders, right? So now Thunder versus Nuggets. Now, is this going to be an intriguing series? I just don't think so, right? I think the Thunder do have a legitimate chance of being the Denver Nuggets, right? Because Thunders are younger and they have more energy, right? Thunder have to beat this series, right? Even though this is their second year, because Denver Nuggets fired a coach. Now, if the Denver Nuggets did not fire their, head coach, then that series is going to be, another intriguing series, right? Instead of, round 1 being intriguing, it'll be round 2 versus the Thunder, right? So, I think Denver will be a lot more better if they didn't fire their coach, Mike Malone, right? Because, the Denver fired their head coach, I'm not picking the Nuggets to beat the Thunder. I am not. That's just plain old simple. So let's go with the Nuggets. So what the Thunder needs to do to eliminate the Nuggets, they need to learn, how to stop Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic, right? they're two guys, and they're two very good defender and very. Yeah, Jamal Murray is the main key for the Nuggets. If they shut him down, and also Jokic is not as formidable as you think, right? I mean, if they can stop Jokic and Jamal Murray, then the Thunders will win the series, right? That's all they need to do. Thunders play really good. They play really good defense, right? They even hold the Grizzlies to 80, even though I know the Grizzlies are not that formidable, right? In the one of the games, right? But then they can expose the Thunder, defense. They could, right? And that's how they're gonna win games. So yeah, and also the Thunder, they have a bunch of really young guys. They got Chet Holmgren, they got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and a whole bunch of young guys, hungry guys, that's willing to play hard, right? And they're gonna put up a really good fight, right? So how many games do I think the Thunder's gonna get this job done, right? You're asking me, what's my opinion? I say 6 games, right? But yeah, I know that the Denver's gonna get at least 1 game out of the Thunder. And the Thunders are not gonna be undefeated anymore, right? They're not gonna be an undefeated team. So yeah, this series is gonna be a lot more tougher than the Grizzlies series. A lot more tough for the Thunder, right? But yeah, so the Nuggets, in order to beat the Thunder, they just have to expose their weakness, right? Like their defense, their lack of knowledge, even though they're young, right? Need to learn how to shut down, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, right? And probably have to go a little bit more, size, right? But the Thunder, they do shoot, jack up threes, right? They do have, size, young, and they're hungry, right? That's to me, the Thunder, right? But sometimes, sometimes the weakness is their inexperience will be their weakness, right? But the Nuggets have championship. But since they fired the coach, then that kind of destroyed their chemistry. So yeah, I'm not sure, who. But yeah, I say Thunder 6, but I'll be kind of surprised if it goes to Game 7, right? If that series goes to Game 7, that means that the Nuggets should have clearly won that series. If they did not fire Mike Malone, they should have clearly beat the Thunder, right? So yeah, I feel like whoever wins that series will probably go to the finals, right? Because I feel like the Timberwolves are pretender, and the Warriors in Houston, they're definitely pretenders, right? Yeah, the Warriors are too old, and they've been exposed multiple times, and the Houston Rocket and the Timberwolves, also very both immature team. They're not going to the finals, right? So yeah, so this series will determine who will go to the finals, right? I think it's this series. But yeah, I honestly don't think it's gonna go Game 7, but it has to go at least Game 5, right? So yeah, and also Westbrook, has to be on his best behavior, right? People been really criticizing, Westbrook, right? But yeah, on the Thunder side, you got to be careful for one thing, man. I really like Thunder, but the thing is that Luke Dort does play really dirty and try to injure players. So that's one thing that the Nugget has to be on alert, Yeah, they got Luke Dort as a dirty player. So that's what I heard, right? And I saw that Luke Dort tried to injure Ja Morant, the previous series, right? So yeah, I think he probably did or probably didn't. I'm not really sure. So yeah. So peace out here and bye-bye.